よはじねよはじねよはじねよはじねあべによべによべによべによはいへよべによべによはいへはよはじねよはじね。
Welcome back to Voices for the Earth. I'm your host, Violet, and today's guest is Howard Thompson. So we're just going to start off with an introduction.
My name is Chief Howard Thompson, and my Mohawk personal name is Yotole. And at a certain age, I was in my 30s, and then they gave me a chief's title of Onohle Goa, meaning Big Eagle. And that's the chief's title that were given at the inception of the Great Law, the Confederacy. Back then, that name was given to my ancestors. So it's my turn to watch over that name for my lifetime.
So the first question I have is, could you tell us some of the prophecies that are in Handsome Lake's message regarding climate change?
There's quite a few of them, and one of them is, as we know, that the weather is getting warmer outside every winter and every summer. And in one of the prophecies, it says that the day will come when we will have no more winters. So that's a big prophecy, and we're slowly getting to it, because this year we had temperatures here on the mild side for a winter. There was not one day of below 0 Fahrenheit this year. So that's a really good indication that the climate is getting warmer, and it's going to still get warmer, because I can remember days, not even when I was a kid, just say 15, 20 years ago, when we used to have 20 below 0 weather for weeks, and then in January and February, and now look what we had. We had nothing, no below 0 weather. So that's changing. So how is that going to affect our trees? Say like the maple tree that we rely on getting maple syrup in the middle of the winter or in this early spring. So how is that going to affect our maple syrup things? So what I try and do is I look at our opening address, and you give thanks for the different things in there, and that's one of them is maple syrup. And one of the other prophecies is that the day will come when we will have no berries on the strawberry plants, because the ground is going to be so warm, and the only option we'll have is the red leaves on the strawberry plant, and give thanks to that instead of the actual strawberry. And the other prophecy is we have partridge that dwell in the fields and in the grass and make their nest there. And then when the day will come when they're going to start nesting in the trees, because the ground is going to be so warm that they're going to move off the ground and go into the trees to nest. And other things too is our grandfather, the thunders that come every springtime. They come here and they make their noise coming through, and they water the plants that we put in our gardens. And they pass on through from the west and go east. And in our prophecy, it says that the day will come when those thunders, our grandfathers, will come from the east and go west, create a lot of havoc on their way through, and never come back. So sometimes when I talk in different places about our prophecies, I try and say, science needs to tell us what would cause this. So maybe that's something that they can work on to see if they can slow it down on this change that's going to play a negative impact on our peoples. So there's a whole list of different things that's going to that's going to change for us in the coming years. And this one prophecy has nothing to do with climate change, but it's just the way the world is changing. And one of them is the day will come when the Creator's going to start taking people off the earth. And he's going to start with the elders. And look what happened with this pandemic. This pandemic took a lot of elders, somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 5 or 6 million people off this earth that are all the elders from this pandemic we had. And then the other scary part is phase 2 of the Creator taking our people home is taking children. Because maybe he doesn't want them to see what's coming, so he's going to start taking children off the earth. But I have no idea how that's going to come about, how he's going to do that. And then the next phase of that is phase 3, is to take all the adults that believe in him. Next would be the ones to start taking them off the earth here. But that's why we give thanks on a daily basis that we still have all these things that he has given us. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. So the second question is, could you tell me what prophecies from the Handsome Lake message that you've seen happen in your lifetime? So elaborate on a little bit more on.
Yeah, so I just mentioned the one there about the people, the Creator taking the people off the earth. That's one of them. And then there's like I said, in the day will come when there's no more winters. So again, I say is I can see it as a notable change to the climate, saying that this is the first winter that I've never seen 20 below 0 Fahrenheit. And that's I've never seen that, and I don't think anybody has ever seen that, being that warm. For a winter, we got accustomed to 20 below 0 for months or weeks at a time during the winter, but we're not seeing that anymore. And when I travel on different venues, I notice other people talking about the changes that they've seen and that they're noticing in their territories. So there's change that's coming. I've noticed in my lifetime, and that's just maybe 2 examples there that I can think of offhand. I can give you a whole list of different things that I've noticed in my lifetime of the change that's coming.
Yeah, even I can remember when I was little that winters were longer and colder, but even now, that was when I was probably 3 years old.
Yeah.
And now it's winter. I'm not a big fan of the cold, but I'd rather have it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, I'd say, upsetting when it's 50 degrees in December and I see all my fellow peers at my college being like, oh, I would love this warm weather. And I'm like, no, I don't love this warm weather.
Yeah, the change. There's a change coming, and that's sure some people will love it, the ones that don't like winters, but it's a cycle that needs to be there. For one cycle I can think of is I live next to the St. Lawrence River, and every winter the whole river freezes over, and the fish hide in certain spots under the ice and go dormant for the winter. But now with this warm weather, it's not going to freeze anymore. So their cycle is going to change. They have to adjust, and I don't know how it's going to work out for the fish to adjust to this climate. Same with any migrations or bird life that migrate south, and they're not even migrating. Some of them are not migrating, and some of them are only going several miles down the south to migrate to their new winter grounds.
I've even noticed the geese, because they're supposed to migrate. And during the winter on campus, I see a lot of geese, and I'm just like, shouldn't you guys be somewhere else right now? You guys shouldn't be here right now.
Yeah, and there's all other kinds of birds too that are are wintering here. They don't go anywhere. I've seen blue jays in the wintertime, and I've seen robins that normally come in early spring, one of the first ones, but they're not leaving anymore. They find a way to stick around for the winter because there's no, I guess in their mind, they can weather what's coming for the winter.
So my third question is, explain your work with the United Nations as well as the COP Climate Change Conference.
So I got involved with climate change, and I have to tell a story about why I got involved with climate change. Was because when Handsome Lake, Kalihuio, came, Handsome Lake preached or told the story of the Kalihuio, and what I noticed in that I was growing up, I was always afraid to share this knowledge with anybody outside of the Longhouse community. But then there's a part in the Handsome Lake prophecy that came to mind, was that when the Creator finished giving him the message, he went to Washington to give Washington that same message. So that's kind of my indication that the prophecies weren't meant just for us. It was meant for the rest of the world to understand that there's a change coming. So that's why I decided to get involved in international climate change work and let people know that there is a big change coming. And it's not just for my community here that's going to change. The whole world perspective is going to change. So that's why I decided to get involved with the Conference of the Parties, COP. And I think I started out with COP 23. And my first one was in Katowice, Poland. And then, so there's different countries will host the COP session in the fall. And I've been trying to get to them as much as possible. And when I was in Glasgow, I was given a chance to be put on a similar thing here as a podcast too, and I had a whole list of all the different changes that was coming to the world, and I've even been on panels where I listened to Eskimos that are waiting for the cold weather to come back because they can go back to practice in their igloos. And there's one young fella I kind of had to let down a little bit and tell him there's no more winters coming. So he's got to have to get used to not being able to put up an igloo in his territory.
I mean, this is where it's important that we share all this knowledge from Gaiweo. Because as much as I don't understand it as much as you do, but I know that there are some stuff that do pertain to us, but then there are a lot that can be used in the outside world. And the stuff on climate change is important because this regards to everyone.
Yes, that's why I pick and choose in Kalihuio which ones could help other people, not just my people, other people's in the upcoming change that's coming, whether you call it climate change. When I go to this event of climate change, I sometimes don't like using the word climate change because the change that's coming isn't just climate. It's got to do with a lot of things on how the world is going to change. Because I even get stories from people from the South Pacific that live on some of those islands. They've now had to evacuate those islands to higher ground islands because the ocean is rising, because the ice is melting. So I've seen Army Corps of Engineers picturing where the water used to be before ice. And there's not that much land. And there's been a lot of places where people are going to have to migrate to higher lands. So I see that in all the different stories I hear whenever I go to these COP sessions with the United Nations, of their stories that they're coming. And every one of those stories are all seeing the change that's coming to their area.
In one of my classes, my during the fall semester, we had towards the end of the semester, we had looked at I don't remember where it was, but they had talked about how they were losing their island that they were indigenous to, and that the waters were rising, which is causing them to lose parts of their island, and they don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, like I've heard some of the stories of these islands that are getting smaller. They call it, sometimes they misinterpret how they not pronounce it, but they say their islands are sinking. It's not sinking, it's the water's rising. So, and some of these islands the people on it have had to migrate to different islands. So now people have to use, have to be kind to one another when somebody shows up at your door because they lost their home to flooding, or for whatever reason, volcanoes, or all the changes coming, volcanoes, tsunamis, and the water rising. So they gotta somehow migrate, and so we as peoples gotta show this kindness to those people that show up on our doorstep. How is that gonna work? Because I know sometimes kindness can be detrimental to you, because you can only show so much kindness of what you have to people, and say you can handle 10 people at your doorstep, but not 100. We'll see. So we'll see what happens when that happens, is when you don't have enough resources to accommodate the people that's going to show up on your doorstep. And I don't mean just a personal doorstep, but on sometimes your community or a country's doorstep, or just the amount of people that are migrating now is just unbelievable.
And is this another place where Kaiweo comes in, where it kind of shows us how we can help each other?
Yeah, Kalihui always tells about how to treat other people. So if you're a kind-hearted person, you're gonna help and help until you have nothing, no more resources left. But that's the kindness of our beliefs, is to always help the next person that comes to your door. It's always going to be there. So that's going to be up to us. It's going to be a test of your kind-heartedness of when a change comes to your doorstep, and how you're going to handle it.
So our fourth question is, how receptive are the people from other parts of the world when they hear our messages and prophecies?
They're somewhat receptive, but in some cases it probably doesn't really show. But I think they're in shock of knowing what's coming, or I don't know if that's going to be. If you're in the government, you're going to say they're not going to believe what I'm saying, because they have their different attitude towards economics and whatever that they concentrate on. But to actually believe that this climate change is here is now starting to sink in. Even 10 years ago, it hasn't been sinking into a lot of leaderships throughout the world's heads that there is a change coming. But now, I think with our help and with other indigenous people around the world, that they're helping to convince that the leadership is, we have to prepare for what's coming. And there's a word in the United Nations they use is adaptation. And I always, when I go there and if I get the chance to speak, I kind of say, you have to change that word from adaptation, because the change is coming so fast. You're not going to be able to adapt to this one change before already you're going to have to adapt to another change and another change. So you have to be kind of prepared for being resilient of the change that's coming on a daily, weekly, yearly basis of all the things that's coming to be able to try and adapt to it.
So, our fifth question is, have you met any other indigenous peoples from around the world that have similar prophecies or beliefs as ours?
I hear a lot of stories from the other indigenous people that are noticing the climate change, but up to now, I've only met one guy from Africa, and after one of my presentations, I had spoken about prophecies, and he came up to me later on, and he says, "Yes, we have to make them realize that how important that prophecies that were given us to be able to teach other people of what's coming." So he says prophecies are important to our culture to be able to teach of the coming change.
I feel like also prophecies are important and they need to be explained better. From my own personal experience, my dad had told me once that his mom said that when there was a web around the world, that the world was going to end. And, me being like 8 years old at the time, I was like, oh no, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
But instead, I've come to realize that no, it's not going to end. It's just going to end the way we function now. And we're going to have to change.
The change is coming. It's a gradual change. And when Galihuio came out, they said that it was going to be almost like they announced it as 3-day duration, but in heavenly words, 3 days is like 300 years. So everything that was told in 1799 is going to take 300 years for it all to come through. And we're currently at 224 years along that prophecy. And a lot of that prophecy, the worst is yet to come. So after that 3 days, 300 years is up, that's when everything has happened. All the catastrophes have happened. So we don't know the outcome after 300 years of what's going to be left. Because there's also a prophecy that says that they will come when it will rain fire. And that'll be a big problem when it does that. And that could mean several things. And the one I'm thinking of is that it'll rain fire like a meteor shower. Because that's how it was, a meteor shower that destroyed the dinosaurs. So there could be another story of a meteor shower similar to that, of creating a lot of havoc. And I don't know if it would be total destruction, but create a lot of heartache to people that's left at the time of that coming.
Wasn't there, I feel like there was one in there about when water would catch on fire.
So it wouldn't be so much water catching on fire as it would be too hot. Like say, similar to the story, adding to the story of the meteors, when they come and they hit the earth, that will boil the oceans. So the water will get so hot that people get so hot that they will want to run to the water, but the water will be too hot to run to. So that's where it may say that the water is boiling or is just too hot to run to, away from the heat that's coming.
I'm adding a question. So, how important do you think that it is for different people in government to understand this?
It's important that they be able to educate their constituents of the possibilities that's coming their way, and maybe they can, even as the government and as all the people, if they all work together, we can slow down this change, because all this pollution and fossil fuel and everything is changing this world. fossil fuels means that you're drilling holes into Mother Earth, and to the point where it's going to crack and shatter. I'm just going to use an example like Oklahoma, where they found oil, and they've done so much drilling in that area that now, to this day, they're getting earthquakes regularly. I'm not sure what the stats is on that, but they have regular earthquakes just from all the oil drilling that they've done. So the fossil fuel industry has done a lot of damage to Mother Earth's crust, and she's breaking up. So, and then all the other things that I've noticed just watching the climate change, or the change, I call it the change, is the amount of earthquakes. Before, you'd hear one or two earthquakes in the news. Now you can almost watch the news, and almost every other day there's an earthquake somewhere in the world. And then all the volcanoes. You'd hear one or two volcanoes erupt. Now you're hearing volcanoes erupt almost daily. Some old ones erupting, and some that haven't erupted for hundreds of years are now erupting. So that's adding to the climate change, and that's adding to the Mother Earth's integrity as a whole, and just rattling, and the change that's all coming with that. So, like I said, I keep calling everything a change, not just climate, but every change that comes is a change, and even an earthquake. Look what earthquakes have been doing to shorelines and killing thousands and thousands of people. They call them tsunamis. So an earthquake, depending on where it is in the ocean, can create a tidal wave that'll kill thousands. And some have, that has happened to some cities already.
I remember this from, I believe it was my 8th grade science class. And we had looked at a video that was like titled Earth 2100, or we had talked about like this giant mega volcano located in the United States that is like due to erupt any time now, I think. Yeah.
So that could be anywhere. One of these old volcanoes coming to life. I'm not sure which one was out in was it Washington State there? Mount St. Helen, I believe, or something like that.
It was like, what's that one? I think Montana, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and it was such a big eruption there that it created a cloud here on this side of the country. There was a cloud that erupted so much that it made a big cloud that it came to this side of the country, and could even breathe in the dust from it. So that's just a sample of what's to come as far as volcanoes if this world continues to fall apart the way it's going right now.
Even like the wildfires during last year that made the air quality bad. There's
also a prophecy that they will come when the trees will start dying from the top down. So just that statement there is, okay, is it because it's too hot, or is it because of the forest fires that's happening throughout? Because they had forest fires in Quebec this past summer, and there was never any forest fires, to my knowledge, coming out of Quebec and British Columbia and those areas, anything major anyway. But now, just the size of these fires is just enormous, and that's just all part of this change that's coming, the heat wave, because the forests were never being able to be that hot to be even start a fire, but now it's here.
Because when forest fires, what I usually think of is in California, that side, where now it's like we're getting them here, where it's supposed to be like more wetter, and even just how much it affected everywhere. Like I'm from like Western New York, closer to, Niagara Falls. And we were affected by that. Probably not as bad as you guys up here, but it still affected us pretty bad.
Yeah, it was the weather patterns. that carried that smoke in a direction that it backtracked a little bit, went through interior a little bit, and then headed towards the ocean. And even New York City, which is on the ocean, got hit with it. So it's just the climate, the way the climate operates, and it has smoke in it. It's just where it's going to carry it. So we're all gonna notice at some point these different devastations that happen, whether it be even in our area here. I think we've had 3 or 4 minor earthquakes in my area here, where people have noticed a rattling. But there was a earthquake here which hit just across the river from my home, and my parents remember it, and it knocked down a lot of buildings because there was a lot of brickwork in the buildings, and it knocked a lot of it down. I think it was in the 1940s. So there is a possibility for us to have major earthquakes in this area. But right now we've been hearing or feeling minor earthquakes, and you never know when the big one comes right behind it.
Because what was it? A couple, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, that there was an earthquake around here, and then wasn't there one the year before too?
Or even sometimes two a year. Minor earthquakes, but they're still earthquakes. So that just means something's brewing, something's up for our area here.
So our 6th question is, what is the most beneficial thing about the work that you do, and how does it have an effect on how does it have an effect on the environment? I wrote that weird.
I'm going to try and say that to teach what I was taught through Galihuio of the prophecies, to teach it and to see if people can take it serious enough to prepare for it. Because the biggest problem is people are not prepared for these changes that are coming. Like I watch the news now, and any given time you can watch the news, and there's been some major catastrophe somewhere, hurting or killing a lot of people or displacing a lot of people because of clear cutting of trees. Now when it rains a lot, they get mudslides. There was one community I heard in the news that a mudslide took out a whole community. So there's different things that people have to be prepared for. So if they know some of the things that's coming, they can prepare for it. Otherwise, you can say to yourself, these people who are talking like this are full of it. It's not going to happen. And so they're the ones that's going to suffer when something does happen. Because when the water rises, where's all the millions of people on coastlines that live on coastlines? Where are they going to go? If they're prepared, where are they going to go? So there's a lot of preparedness. That's the term I like to use. Be prepared for the next change. It doesn't matter if it's the ocean rising or if the river floods, overflows, or earthquakes and tsunamis, all these different ways that it can turn into a catastrophe for people that are not prepared.
So as much as this is something that we can't, we're already too far gone and this is already going to play out, but we can still try and delay it as much as we can and fight as hard as we can to prolong this.
So that's what I've done in some of my speeches at the United Nations, is that we need to prepare it, and scientists have already proven that it's too late. Some scientists will tell you it's too late to fix it, but if we all work together as humanity, we can slow it down. And what I used to do was use the term of generation, because as Haudenosaunee, we were given the thought of, you always think of the 7th generation. That means don't make any decisions that's going to hurt the 7th generation. But now I think we're at the point where we're going to see if we can get our grandchildren to become grandparents. That's how close everything is. And if we try hard enough, we can help our immediate family survive this. But if not, then everything is gonna hurt society as a whole.
So the final question is, what message do you have for the youth today and the future generations?
Study your culture and study how you can give thanks to the Creator for what you have today. Because again, I say that any day you could lose what you have. So give thanks. Thanks for it for today, so that you may not have it tomorrow. That's why we have the opening address, is to give thanks to almost all of creation that we have it today. Because tomorrow we may not have one of those things you're giving thanks to. So to be able to stay of sound mind is always to give thanks for what you have today, because you may not have it tomorrow. So that's why my advice is to the youth that are, study your culture, study how you can thank the Creator for everything you have, and learn to be a good person, because the Creator's watching you, and He's watching what kind of person you are.
So that is all my questions. And on our next podcast, we should have you teaching me how to make a doomsday bag.
Well, we can tell you what's coming, but I myself don't know how to prepare for it. All I can do is teach that we know what's coming. So how do we get prepared for it? That's why I say sometimes in certain forums is science. Tell us how we can, why this is going to happen, and how we can slow it down so it doesn't happen today, but maybe it's coming tomorrow. But how do we stop it, slow it down today, so that we can keep our minds focused on what we have coming towards us in the future. So I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Which it also makes a point that it's important for Haudenosaunee kids to be not only involved in ceremonies, but also involved in science and learning about these, so we can have people for our next generations, and even my generation too, that can help us with this.
Yes, it's always important to learn, the constant learning of it, because a lot of the change that's coming isn't our doing. So our grandfathers couldn't teach us that. So now we have to rely on other things to be able to learn what's coming and how to I don't want to say accept, but how to try and survive the change that's coming, and help other people to do it as well.
All right, so that is all that I have for today. I want to say Nyawa for letting me interview you. In this episode's Climate Change Fact, we're going to be talking about carbon footprints again. But now we're going to be getting into how we can reduce our carbon footprint. Let's get into the list. So first we have choose organic and local foods that are in season. Growing and harvesting food consumes energy, and the transportation for processing, storage, and distribution adds to that demand. By selecting more local food options, you can help reduce your footprint. Composting. Managing waste requires energy. A garbage truck picks it up from your home, transports it to a landfill or processing facility, and then further processing uses even more energy. By composting some of your organic waste, you can reduce the amount sent to the dump while creating valuable organic matter to enrich your. Assess and research how much energy your household is using. By doing this, it allows for you to identify the amount of energy consumption of your household and see the different ways that you can be more efficient in your energy usage. Donate old clothes. When considering recycling, don't overlook donating clothes. This practice keeps garments out of landfills and reduces the demand for new clothing, conserving the energy, water, and resources required for production, along with reducing emissions from transportation to the retailers. And if you need to get rid of clothes that can't be donated, rather than throwing them out, look for garment and textile recycling programs around your area. Opt to use reusable shopping bags. Plastic bags made from fossil fuel waste contribute to pollution all over the world. Using reusable shopping bags is a simple way to reduce waste and protect the environment. Invest in quality products that last. Buying cheap and disposable items like furniture, clothing, and kitchen equipment may seem economical, but they often need frequent replacing due to wear and tear. Investing a bit more in quality products not only ensures durability, but also reduces energy consumption in manufacturing and minimizes landfill waste. Support and buy from companies that are environmentally friendly and sustainable. Support companies that focus on energy-efficient sourcing and responsible manufacturing. By supporting sustainable businesses, you can help collectively reduce carbon footprints. Landscape with native plants. Creating sustainable landscapes benefits the environment. If you have a lawn or outdoor space, planting native species can use less energy and water by reducing the need for mowing and irrigation. Native plants also enhance biodiversity by providing food and habitat for local birds, animals, and insects. I do also want to mention that not all of us are able to make these changes that I've listed, but if you are able to, it can help out the earth in the long run. To find out when new episodes are released, follow Haudenosaunee Environmental Task Force on Facebook and Voices for the Earth on Instagram. I would also like to say Nyawa to Aaron Printup for the music. Nyawa for listening.
Hayowane, kayowane.